One, two, three.
Hello, and welcome to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show.
Who are you?
I am your host, Davstar Gellhorn.
You don't have the names of
a living weapon.
I may be a living weapon. And with me is, of course, my co-host, Mayette Red, André Mayette.
That is me. You don't have an interesting soundbite for me?
Yeah.
A living weapon.
You just use that for you.
No, I use this one for me.
A living weapon.
Oh, I get the sensual woman voice version. I'll take it.
We're both living weapons.
That's true. That's true. But mine sounds sexier. I don't know if it's just the way she says it. She's like,
yeah, see, I gave you the good one and you still complained. You just
That's
can't
right.
please some
Yeah,
people.
you have to put our little titles at the bottom. So it makes more sense if people can see how they're spelled.
Oh, right.
There you go. Because Dark Star is in the episode, you see, and Omega Red is also in this episode.
Of course.
So Davstar, of course, is a variation of the term Dark Star featuring the character. And
We're very clever
Red
here.
sounds very similar to Omega Red, who was introduced in this particular episode. So you see, we have very clever. We are very clever people here on the X-Rated, the X-Men Animated Review Show.
We are in top form.
If you couldn't tell by the name of the show, we have a lot of fun here.
The name of the show could tell you a few different things, and some of them are true, some of them aren't.
Yeah, don't believe everything you hear.
No, not everything. Well,
just most of it. Welcome to the episode, everybody out there.
Welcome to the episode. We are here to talk about season 2, episode 4, Red Dawn.
Yes, I just want to say before we get into this,
written by Francis Moss and Ted Peterson.
Yes, that's good. We include that because we haven't been doing that lately, but we should definitely make an effort to do so because these people are talented artists, and we should definitely appreciate their work and know who they are, so we can seek them out and see their other work.
And some of them come on our show, artists
true.
And writers alike. And we appreciate them.
The best ones come on the show, and those who haven't done yet, you have an opportunity to become a best one by coming on.
Look, there's still a lot of episode ratings to come.
Yeah, that's for sure. We got seasons to go. But I want to point out, because Davin generally looks after a lot of the social media, and I chime in here and there when I can, because my job is doing social media, so it's actually a relief I don't have to do it for this show as well. But I have been seeing a lot of comments, a lot of likes, and a lot of people watching from names I don't recognize from all across the world, which is really nice to see. So tell your local congressman to support the X-Rated X-Men Anime Review Show and all that sort of jazz. Tell your friends, like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm sure you have. And rating us is important too. So rate. Let us know how well
we rate episodes. It's only fair.
Yeah, I mean, just rate and tell us how wonderful we are. That's all we want to know. It's just how wonderful we are, how great we are, how much you love us, how deeply you desire us in your life. Even if it's inappropriate, we still want to hear it. We might not put it on the air, but we want to hear it. So shoot it out there.
Talk to us.
That's right. Tell us which host you think is sexier. That's the most important thing we need to know. So,
well, of course, open with that, and then
or just tell, exactly. Just say which one you like better, and then we'll know who's the superior host.
Now, normally this is where we would start getting into the episode breakdown, but I think.
What is this?
Catching up with André.
You lied to me. You said the music was for some other segment.
No, that was different music.
Oh, it all sounds alike.
I have all kinds of music here, and I didn't write any of it. But
it's all right.
Me playing
we're allowed to use it because we are a review show. I believe there is a limit to how much you're allowed to use in Canada on a review show, and I believe we're well within those limits. So keep your lawyers off us, Disney, and if not, hire us because we love your product and we're doing a great job of reviewing it. So we would happily do it for Disney. Put us on Disney Plus. We'll be there.
I'm an ideas guy.
Yeah,
you can use me over there.
I'm a character. we can get that sweet. We don't even need that sweet MeUndies money if we have that global Disney money. So that's all. We'll just bypass MeUndies and go straight to corporate shills, and I'm totally down for that. So let's do it.
That's the only reason Andre's here.
Please, Bob Iger, make me a corporate shill. I will be
So
there.
catching up with Andre.
Yeah.
You were recently at a new comic book festival on the great island of Prince Edward.
Yes, in fact,
Why don't you tell us about that?
I mean, it was 2 weeks ago. We did interview Rick Hoberg in between, so I kind of forgot that we were doing this. But yes, it was a really fun time. This is the second one they've ever had. The first one was, I think, in 2019. Of course, 2021 was closed due to COVID. 2020, 2021, and now we're in 2022. PEI decided to do this one. It's called the Island Expo, and it was a ton of fun. This first con I've done since everything closed up. And it's still mass in PEI, so that was fine. But I saw a lot of people that I'm used to seeing on the con that I haven't seen in a long time. I sold a lot of prints, which is a lot of fun, and I got to just sort of talk to people and meet some new people that might be able to have guests on my other podcast, the Graphic Histories podcast. Which,
good.
In fact, one of them is on this week's one. So, yeah, it was a really good time. I got to catch up with some friends, people that have worked in the comic industry. Sandy Carruthers, who worked on the original X-Men podcast and was a future, or not, geez, my God. When that flashed, it totally distracted my mind. He worked on the original Men in Black comic book. And he was a guest on my show, and Brian and Troy Little, of course, live in PEI, and they were their guests on the show in the past. Mike Ruth, who lives out in Ontario, was a guest in the past I got to catch up with, and some other people that are friends and folks. So yeah, it was a really fun time. It was a really, really good time.
Good.
Yeah,
that was good.
A hoot.
Yeah, I haven't been to PEI in a while.
Before we get into this episode, I feel as though we have to talk about how insanely prescient it is with what's going on in the world today. I guess not even prescient, because at the time period, it was sort of going back to what had happened before with the fall of the Soviet Union, and that's played up a lot in this. But it's funny how, this episode, we got to it just now in the middle of Russia invading and trying to reclaim countries that it lost when the Soviet Union broke down, which is exactly what is happening in this episode. So it's very salient to what's going on in the world right now. And I thought it was, watching it was quite interesting. It's like every time in The Simpsons, when one of these things come up where they're like, hey, look, The Simpsons predict the future. And then this time when you watch this and you're like, yeah, this one's pretty on point, I would say.
Where's Wolverine when you need him?
Yeah, exactly.
Hunting down Omega Red.
You can settle this whole thing. All right, you ready to get into it?
I think so.
Okay, boom.
Oh wait, well, before we get into it,
previously on X-Men.
Yes, of course.
Keep your head up. You're going to make it.
Which, let's wait and see, everybody. Are we going to get another sweet Xavier Magneto catastrophe ending this episode? Can't wait. They're going to get hit by a tornado.
This time they start us off with the which is nice.
Yeah,
so, we've had 2 episodes where we've ended it with Magneto and Xavier's mad journey through the Savage Land, and this time we're going to begin with it just to keep you on your toes. So we do see that Professor X and Magneto have indeed survived the fall off the water. While Xavier swims to safety, pulling Magneto with him. They briefly converse, in which Magneto says he doesn't understand Charles Xavier. Do you have that clip? This seems like a good one to have.
I do not yearn for an easy life, Magneto. Only a just one.
I love that. Like that's
a
little philosophy nugget, and then Magneto throws a little philosophy back.
Patience, Charles. All things come to those who wait.
They're just kind of battling philosophy in this scene, and I like it a lot.
Well, yeah, I really enjoy that line because Professor X says that line in response to Magneto saying, I don't understand you, Charles. Your life would be made much simpler.
Yeah.
Or much easier, rather, by letting me die, to which he responds. He says, I shall never understand you, Charles. And he says, in what way? He says, your life would be infinitely easier if mine were to end, yet you saved me. And then he says that
I
wonderfully
do not desire an easy life, but a just one.
Shakespearean line right out of...
Which I looked up to see if that came from somewhere, and I couldn't find it anywhere. So
it's just good writing. Very good writing.
Sweet, sweet writing.
good writing of people that have a good feel for these characters. And because Xavier sometimes, like, his voice kind of borders on mad scientist sometimes to me. Just the way, like, when he's like when they're falling off the waterfall. But it's nice when he gets like the quiet moments where you can really hear the cadence come through, and you get those sort of moments.
This is the first episode so far by this writing pair of Francis Moss and Ted Peterson. They didn't write it in season 1 or so far in season 2.
I think they're fitting in quite nicely. I mean, it's only the first episode, but I really like what they did here. It feels like they didn't miss a step with what had come before them. So they survive. As they're walking, all of a sudden a T-Rex appears and chases after them. Which is, I find hilarious that T-Rexes can sneak up on people. It's one of my biggest complaints about the movie Jurassic Park. I love that movie, but at the end, when the T-Rex makes the big save and snatches the raptor out of the air before it can kill them all, I'm like, why did you, like, earlier we saw water shaking, you hear the earth shaking when they walk, they're like, but at the end it tiptoes in. Like, I just love the idea of the T-Rex like tiptoeing in for dramatic effect. Yeah, it's just how
these guys are really talking back and forth. It just shows you how once those two get jibber jabbing with each other, they just tune everybody else out.
I suppose so. So the T-Rex comes after them and then starts chasing them, to which Magneto directs them to run behind a geyser. And then
can I just say how much I love this scene? I really love it. Like, not in an ironic way or anything. I like
it in an ironic way. It's not good. It's funny.
Oh, no, it is good. I love it.
It's almost like the Red Skeleton yakety sax thing where they're running like because like
it's actually both. It's good and bad. It's good. It's just really good.
So there's a geyser, which is the big crater that has boiling water in it, and they just keep running in a circle around, and so the T-Rex has to keep chasing them in a circle. And then
that's what Magneto says, that patience line.
Yes. Well, Magneto keeps antagonizing it by throwing rocks at it, to which Xavier doesn't understand. And then we realize,
like, isn't it mad enough? He's like, I don't want it to leave. Yes. Why not?
To which we learn that Magneto is purposefully antagonizing the creature so that it'll reach its head over the geyser when it explodes. Shooting water up and somehow knocking it out. I guess, shouldn't it be dead or at least burnt? Because isn't the geyser supposed to be hot? Anyway, just knocks it out. To which we learn Magneto says that even without his powers, he still, is a force to be reckoned with, essentially, because of his mind. He says something, even without my mutant powers, I will not go easily, or something like that, or I'll not.
I will not die easily. Yeah.
Yes, which is a nice little show of his sternness and his fortitude, which is importing parts of his character. And then, of course, we return to Russia, in which a bunch of former Soviet soldiers ransack a building that is holding, which we soon learn to be a weapon that they created back in the Soviet times, known as Omega Red. That's in cryo.
A living weapon.
Yes, the living weapon. One of those men is most certainly Russia or Vladimir Putin. That's just me inferring this into that. But one of them has like a hat, and could be an animated younger version of him, and I choose to believe that. If anybody was going to be in a room ready to defrost a living weapon for their own selfish ends, it would be that monster. So yeah, I'd like to believe that he's in there. So
politics warning, Andre's going to get into it.
That's right, baby. Oh, come on. I don't think it's a hot take here in North America to say that, Russia's not doing good stuff right now, or rather,
we're an international show. We have Russian listeners.
Okay. If they're watching this episode and watched this episode of the show and liked it enough to tune into this, then they're our kind of people. But I definitely think if they're Putin supporters, they may take some aside with this episode. So if you're still
you wanted to fight him last episode, as you recall.
I'll fight him. Bring him on.
Yeah, you said you were going to fight him.
I'll take off my shirt and get on a horse. Let's go.
I would like to see that.
Me shirtless on a horse?
Like as an entrance in one of your wrestling matches. You got to come down shirtless on a horse.
I have a horse-related wrestling story. That's not my story, but was told to me by someone else, and it's a funny story. But I don't know if it's relevant to this particular podcast. Al Snow told it to me one time at a wrestling show, and it was hilarious. So,
all right, go for it. How long's the story?
Oh God. Okay, I'll try to do it quick. So it's Al Snow's stories. I feel bad telling them, but we're at a wrestling show, and he was telling us this backstage. But at one time, he was doing a show, I think in Texas. And, wrestling shows are kind of like they're carnies run them essentially. Not always, there are professionals, but there are some people that are essentially have a carny mentality that run these shows because wrestling began as a carny thing, and that making money and kind of sort of thing has sort of filtered through. But then you get in egos of people that work on these shows and want to appear strong or whatever. It's a whole thing, and there are a lot of books written about it. But anyway, he's doing the show for these two promoters in Texas who work for their own promotion as a father-son tag team. I can't remember what their names are. And anyway, so Al's there and he shows up for the show, and the guy says, "Look, I know you're the big WWE guy, and I don't want to like make you upset or anything, but we're not going to put you on the main event. We're going to put you somewhere further down the card." And I was like, "Well, why?" And like, Al actually is super cool. He doesn't care where he's at. He's like, "No, that's fine. I don't care." And they're like, "Yeah, well, me and my son are going to have this big main event, and we have this big entrance plan. We're going to ride horses to the ring." And then Al goes, "Horses? You have real horses you're going to ride to the ring?" And the guy goes, yeah, we're going to ride them to the ring for a big main event match. And Al goes, sir, I will go on first. I will go on last. I will go on 6 times. Whatever you want me to do, I will do. I just want to be able to watch this magnificent entrance you're going to have, basically, is what Al told them. So the guy's like, "Oh, absolutely, blah, blah, blah." So Al does this match. The show comes. Al's sitting there at the curtain waiting to see what disaster this is going to rot. Because, horses are large animals that can get freaked out quite easily. So especially in an arena full of cheering people. So Al's sitting there by the arena watching. Then all of a sudden, the distant twangs, as he's put it, of Bon Jovi's "Dead or Alive" come over the microphone. Because that's the theme song that they use, right? So all of a sudden, the two of them start to break the curtain on the horse, and one of them, the horse, just rears up, sees people, won't move. So the guy is kicking the horse. The horse won't move. So he tries to get a little further ahead, but I don't think the horses were shoed, or if they were, it was on arena floor, so it's like concrete, so it's super smooth. So the horse tried to walk again, and then it skidded a bit, and it wouldn't move again because it knew it couldn't really walk. So the guy's kicking it because the entrance is getting messed up because the horse isn't moving. So he's kicking it again for it to move. The horse takes one more step forward and then falls. It slips and falls, and then shits everywhere after it hits the ground. Gets up, kicks him off, and runs through the audience, kicking chairs everywhere as he ran away. And nobody was hurt apparently. A lot of people were scared, but and the horse was fine. But like the guy backstage, the father and son are yelling at each other because the father's blaming the son for screwing up their entrance because his horse went up and ran through the audience. So I mean, Al told it way better, but it was a really, really good story.
It's pretty funny.
Anyway, so we learned about these Soviet generals who are getting old Omega Red out of stasis.
Omega Red has been released from his bondage.
Bondage, not stasis.
Yes, which we learn is Darkstar, who is saying that, who is a Russian mutant superhero. She's speaking with Russian generals who are talking about their plans to reestablish the Soviet Union and are using Omega Red to be released. And they're discussing, Darkstar believes it's a mistake to let him out because they could barely control him before. In fact, he went rogue last time. He's
a maverick.
Believing in strength and Russian superiority, and his superiority being obviously the highest since he is
and the Soviet Union.
Yes, so she is not happy about this. She seems to be the one with the morals in the Russian group, and the rest, of course, are more focused on the power that comes, or rather the influence of making a stronger Russia by making it bigger. So she tells them that Omega Red has been awakened, but does it not very happily. Meanwhile, in New York, we see Jubilee, who is skateboarding with a rather cool helmet away from the mansion.
Cool little skateboarding song.
Cool little skateboarding song. Yeah, actually, there was a cool little skateboarding song there. In fact, I got to comment. Actually, maybe I'll save it for my points later. I'm going to save it for my points later. There's something interesting about this episode that I liked a lot. So yeah, she's coming down with the skateboard. Decides to go to the local store, of course, which is run. It's like a quickie mart sort of thing. She goes inside to buy candy or something. She says that they don't have, she always about the snacks, Jubilee. Every episode she's like, they don't have snacks, so they don't
keep snacks.
Yeah, they don't keep enough snacks for these. They're treating like a kid, but they don't keep any treats around, It's all about the food with her, which is interesting. So anyway,
teenager.
She talks about how the X-Men leave her alone at the mansion, leave her behind, and don't leave any good food in the house. So she has to go buy her own, which is funny because she's like, what, a 14-year-old at this point?
15
15 who's like left alone in a mansion with enough money to go buy her own food, and all she does is complain. Like, you're living the high life, lady. Your parents ready to like drop you off into a re-education center not too long ago. Now you're living in a mansion with hot dog money. Like, life's good. Life's good. So anyway, she goes inside, notices some graffiti on the wall from the Friends of Humanity. Then goes and erases it off.
She can erase with her powers.
Yeah, erase it off with her fireworks powers, which I'm not sure how that works, but apparently, I guess burning the layer of wall away that has it on it, which probably isn't good for the structural integrity of that convenience store. But Jubilee does.
Well, we've seen how she treats VCRs.
That is true.
So
she is messed
she's
up.
not really worried about it.
Many a VCR in her day.
Many.
Don't get her started on Laserdisc players. Oh, so anyway.
Washing machine. She had that Maytag repairman busy constantly.
That's right. That's why he's out of work, because the show got canceled. So, anywho, she's inside the building. The Friends of Humanity show up. Start getting angry at the turban, the guy who works there, because he's apparently supports mutants for some reason that we don't know about. If you just walk into every store and get mad at the owner about whether they support mutants.
Hey, you serve mutants here.
Yeah, and then
try picking on someone your own size.
Ha! Like you?
Yeah, like me.
Like you.
Yo.
I still, once again, I believe it was Dave who mentioned he's on the show about how the bad guys all have berets. Like, that's how you know someone's a militant. You put them in a beret. So every one of these guys is like in a white.
They're a political radical.
Yeah, with a white T-shirt with the logo.
Ripped sleeves, oftentimes.
Ripped sleeves or shirtless.
It's hard times. They're working out there in the streets.
They have the cargo pants on. They're tucked into their boots, and they got the berets. That's how we know they're militants.
Mm-hmm.
They're wearing the militant outfit. So
100%.
Jubilee, of course, who in previous episodes have taken out entire Sentinels with her powers, shoots one guy who just sort of falls over, and then the rest of them just attack her and immediately knock her down. Like, just swipe her. She's standing on the counter, and they just swipe her off. She hits the counter, rolls on the ground, and it's like incapacitated right away. So her powers fluctuate, or rather, her abilities as a hero fluctuates depending on what the story requires, it seems.
Well, let it not be said the Friends of Humanity can't take a punch.
Yeah, I mean, one guy just gets hit by the fireworks, rolls back and goes, "She's a mutant, get her!" And then the rest of them just like basically get her.
There's always that guy. Every group of Friends of Humanity we've seen always have the "it's a mutant, get him" guy.
He does a sweet little roll though. Like, he goes back and sort of does a roll and then hits the the cooler and sits there for a minute and just goes, "She's a mutant, get her!" Like, he's not even really that hurt, considering like we've seen Sentinels fall with her powers. So that's why it's interesting. I mean, I guess she doesn't want to blow a hole through a human, so perhaps she's holding back her abilities. But
we're gonna see you beg, mutant.
Did I hear you desire to see mutant?
The broken English of Colossus is by far the best. Did I hear you desire to see mutant? Although, let's go back to that previous line. And that's a dark line for a kid show.
Is.
Because she's a female, they're all males. I'm not implying that is what their intention is, but it certainly can be read into, and it's it's dark. That's some dark stuff. So,
and honestly, not the first kind of super dark thing we've heard a Friends of Humanity character say. They're being played off as really nasty.
Oh yeah, they're by far the worst. And in fact, looking through some art that's coming down the line, which I'll talk about later, their design looks even closer to the KKK, which is interesting. So I mean, when we get to that, that'll be interesting to see where they're going. But yes, that does kind of leave a little dark taste in your mouth. As a kid, you may not notice it, but as an adult, it's like, ooh, that's
like, remember that other episode? They're like, it was Jubilee again, I think, because she's always getting mixed up with the Friends of Humanity.
Apparently,
but they're like, let's murder this little girl.
Come on, guys,
like,
murder her.
Yeah. Or total, or whatever word they used, but
at some point, like, you have to realize maybe when you're in a group of people that are yelling phrases like "let's murder this little girl," that maybe you're on the wrong side of things, or maybe you want to sit back and question what your morals or values truly are in this world. I mean, I guess they don't see mutants as being humans,
Well,
But
you've likely have a pretty twisted outlook to get that far.
still,
Anyway.
like, it's a creature that can obviously think and reason and seems very human, like whether you believe it's human or not, simply because it has powers. It's like if a monkey could talk, I wouldn't be like, hey, let's kill that monkey. Like, it's like, oh, hey, let's maybe see what this monkey has to say. It obviously is capable of thought, so it's more intelligent than just some animal you'd slaughter, and you shouldn't do that either. But it's like, come on, Friends of Humanity. I expect a little better from the Friends of Humanity, I must say. Just a little better.
You expect better from the Friends of Humanity.
Be better, Friends of Humanity.
Be better, Friends of Humanity.
Colossus
be a real friend of humanity.
Yeah, that's right. So Colossus shows up with that wonderful line, busts through, doesn't even really fight them, just becomes Colossus, like powers up.
He's
and
scary
then
dude.
They all run away as he chases them off. So yeah, then he tells Jubilee he's looking for the X-Men. He was on his way to the mansion, which is why he was there, because his family's been driven out of their farm. Which, I mean, in the previous episode, he was searching for his sister, was he not?
In America.
Now it seems as though she's always been in Russia and never left.
I feel like that is like the one flaw in this episode. I feel like that was a plot
so
thread they didn't
perhaps
pick up
he
quite
found
properly.
her and she went back. I mean, you could
Yeah.
surmise that, I suppose. But
and now he needs like their help.
Yes, he
So
needs the X-Men's help because Omega Red.
So I guess that kind of tracks okay. You just have to
but
assume he found her and went back.
It's a
to
little
Russia
sloppy. I mean, we don't know why she would have went to America, and it really seems like she's just been there the whole time since he left.
Especially since she's like a little girl, and he doesn't mention his
Yeah.
parents being there either.
And him leaving Russia was to look for her, essentially, is what it seemed like last time. But anyway, aside from taking timeouts to go work on construction sites, so he
Gotta make that money.
You gotta make that money. That sweet. They're not making a lot of that in communist controlled countries. That's for sure.
He's making American dollars now, not
right.
rubles.
He's gonna go back with a rich man. So his family's in trouble because Omega Red's armies are like their country is one of the ones that have been liberated after the Soviet Union fell. So his country, of course, is not directly given a name, I don't believe, but he is Russian, but not in Russia because his country seemed to have gained its freedom after the Iron Curtain fell. So because of that,
I suppose so, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he could be like, whatever. Belarus or
Ukrainian, yeah. So anyway, he Omega Red is now trying to bring these territories back, leading this army that has dispersed his family, so he wants the X-Men's help to stop them. The X-Men, of course, as Jubilee quickly tells us, are away testing, or rather, I think it's Beast, Jean Grey, and Cyclops are in Washington, testifying before Congress, which just seems to be the easy way. They always get those guys out of the way when they need to. They're off testifying.
Someone's always testifying.
They're always testifying. It's like, how much information do you need? Look, we're mutants. We have powers. We want to help you. There are bad ones, but there are bad people too. We'll try to help you with those that as well. End of discussion. But apparently
the anti-mutant forces in the government are just trying to
just get rid of Geigerich.
Bog them down in court. Like if we just keep the mutants in court, they won't be able to fulfill their evil mutant machinations.
It's just filibusters. Like Ted Cruz is just filibustering for 36 hours. Now, I don't know why these mutants want to come in here with all their powers.
Now look at this children's book. Mutants are okay. Now, does that seem right to you?
Do you think it's okay to tell our kids that they're racist? It's like, oh my God. Anyway, once again, we don't need to get political.
My people are being driven from their homes by armies led by an evil monster.
Yeah, that Russian accent is pretty thick. And also,
I must go now.
I must go now.
You didn't like the way you were talking.
I must go now. So anyway,
but Jubes is going to help him.
Yeah, Jubes is going to help. The rest of the X-Men are there, but they're going to send their weakest, most inexperienced X-Men because no one else is there. He also mentions that they don't know where Xavier is.
They're not there. She says no one's there.
I know, but for the purpose of this episode, Jubilee's the one to go.
Gone to Black Sea with Colossus to stop some guy named Omega Red. Dinner's in the freezer. Have a nice day, Jubilee.
I love that.
She made the dinner. I mean, she made the dinner left in the freezer. It's that's very thoughtful of her. So she leaves a note and she takes off with Colossus in the Jet 2 or Blackbird 2 or whatever
they have a lot of jets.
Yeah,
because Wolverine has one that is even has the same colors as his outfit.
Yeah, which is interesting, and can track the previous jet, which I thought was fun. Jubilee talks about how she has 300 hours of flight simulation under her belt, so she's able to fly. And then, of course, quickly flies straight into a train tunnel for no reason whatsoever when you can just fly over the mountain, narrowly escaping getting crushed by a train just to either show off or because she's ineffectual.
Hey, now.
I've logged over 300 hours in the simulator.
Look out!
Well, I mean, after saying that, flies directly into a train tunnel that's carved through a mountain. And just narrowly missed the train that's entering the tunnel from the other side. So like, I got this.
Colossus agreed to this in the first place.
Also, like, you can't just hop in a plane and fly to Russia. Like, you need bearings. You need to know where you're going. I mean,
Russia's pretty big. Your chances of hitting it are pretty good,
I guess. But the particular area they're going to specifically, I mean, you may need a little bit insight there, just a hair.
Oh, Colossus knows maybe.
Okay, he knows long. Like, look, I could know exactly where I live in Canada, but if I hop in a plane and tell someone else to fly there, it's gonna be pretty tough just looking at the topographic map of the country while you're trying to figure out where your house is without any landmarks. I mean, if you don't know, I guess maybe, I don't know. It seems preposterous to me, but I digress.
You couldn't sight fly to Truro? Come on.
From Russia, if we went the opposite way, probably not. I'd be
if you just go over the top, just go.
Just go across the ocean right there. Just head over the Atlantic, you'll see it. You can't miss it. That landmass shaped like a 7. We'll figure it out. Anyway, so they fly to Russia. They find its capital in ruins. Colossus fearing. I guess Russia. I think it's his country, but
it's his village, isn't it? Like this here.
Yes, that's when it's before it got destroyed. But yes. So Omega Red's threatening leaders of Russia. So they find the capital in ruins. Russia's fearing, or Colossus fearing for his family. No, I think we're on the streets first before he gets back to his farm, like the regular city proper, town proper.
Oh.
So then we see Omega Red threatening leaders of Russia to surrender and step down from power. The people that are so maybe it's Russia specifically, and these guys represent the Soviet Union. I'm guessing that's what it is. So maybe it is in Russia, and Russia is what the Soviet Union wants to bring back. They bring Russia back under the Soviet Union, which doesn't exist anymore, but it seems very.
Yeah.
Anywho,
that might be what's happening here.
It's some
crazy politics happening here.
Yeah, because
you can't come here. This parliament is officially dissolved.
I love this though. Like the parliament is just 3 guys.
It's like 4. Yeah, it's like 4 guys in like a room, like a small room. It's like the animation budget couldn't hold out like drawing a whole parliament full of people. But yeah, it's like 4 guys in a room, and he's like, "Your parliament is dissolved." In a closet.
This parliament is doing important business in this closet.
Yeah, this parliament is being held within the janitorial closet is now dissolved. Obviously, you are so effectual. You're keeping this country together. So he beats them all up. He's going to kill one of them. Darkstar comes in and reminds them not to, be so heavy-handed because they were ordered not to kill, just to remove or exile the parliament. Which is funny. So
what you said makes sense. They're just trying to exile the Russian government and bring in
and go back to the Soviet Union. Yeah. That's, I guess we got there, but it's not super clear as to what's going on with all that. Maybe I was reading into because of Ukraine stuff that's going on in the world. But anyway, Colossus Jubilee find Pietor's family's farm in ruins, but his sister Ilyana Rasputina. Man, isn't Rasputina like the most we need to make a Russian sounding name that an English person could come up with?
Well, that's what's funny, right? Like he's the Rasputin and Black Widow is Romanov, and like the Romanovs and the Rasputins, I think warred or something in history.
Well, the only Rasputin I know of is Grigory Rasputin, the famous monk. I don't know of the others, but I'm not like a super up on my Russian history. Everything I know is from the song Ra Ra Rasputin, lover of the Russian queen. There's a cat who really got down. You know that song. Come on. Ra
Ra Rasputin, Russia's greatest love machine.
There you go. Cool. Bonnie M. Yeah, that's right. Good song. So they find her. She was hiding in the rubble, staying hidden from the soldiers. Her parents, of course, were taken by the government. Or not the government, rather the army. The government had just been dissolved, as we know, the parliament. So back at the X-Mansion, Wolverine comes home from wherever he was, sees Jubilee's note, says Omega Red, because he recognized him.
I got that.
He must got that.
Omega Red.
Yeah,
That's Wolverine's gonna fuck people up music.
it is, man. That was the coolest, like, Wolverine, like, get pissed off and storm out we've had yet, because it has cool music.
Also,
And he does that a lot. He's always like, "I'm out of here." But, like,
a little splash of his backstory in this episode, which is nice.
Yeah.
Little splash. We get it. So he sees that, gets in his own jet, which of course, as you mentioned, is colored and themed to match his costume.
Yeah,
I love
awesome.
I love that everybody in the group must have their own. If they have their own little jets, like they're almost like Voltrons. They have these own little jets.
But Jubilee doesn't, because she's just young, so she
not yet.
just, like,
But hers
steal
is like
someone
pink and
else's
yellow. His is blue and yellow. Like
shit.
Cyclops would be blue and yellow too. They could fight over whose is what
Well,
color.
Wolverine's would be primarily
yellow.
with
That's right.
highlights of blue.
Yeah, maybe the little red in Cyclops is too for the visor. So you get all that. But Storm's black and white. It'd be great. I mean, it'd be really good.
Would it be controversial if Jean's jet was also primarily yellow with a hint of blue?
No, perhaps so. Perhaps mirroring who she truly wishes to be with.
Perhaps.
I also love how they got, like, this is unrelated and maybe it gets dealt with later in the series, but they were ready to get married. They did everything they could to get married. All the plans. They got married. Turns out the priest was Morph. And then no interest.
He was not ordained, so.
But seemingly no interest or motivation to go back and actually get married after all that. Like, just the fact
now they don't trust priests. They think they're all
we'll get justice of the peace then. I don't know. Like, anybody could be Morph in disguise. We can't risk getting married again.
This one's for you, Morph.
I mean, I hope Wolverine kept the receipt for that one, because Morph has certainly not proven to be someone that you need to think too kindly back on, being that he didn't die and also turn into a villain. So I hope you can return that one, Wolverine, because Morph don't need it. So, where are we at? So, yes, Wolverine heads off, recognizing Omega Red as the enemy from his past. Now, Jubilee, Colossus, and Illyana try to free the Rasputins, who are in a prison camp of sorts, which did remind me of the movie, which I'm guessing this episode is named after, Red Dawn, featuring, the Brat Pack and all those guys from the 80s. There's one of my favorite scenes in that movie is when Harry Dean Stanton, who's the father of one of the kids, is in one of these prison camps. Do you remember this movie, Devin?
But just by
Red
name.
Dawn, the 80s movie. You never seen it?
Mm-mm.
So the small town in America gets taken over by, I think, the Russians and the Cubans have some kind of alliance. And the kids become soldiers essentially because all the parents get captured or killed. So the kids, have to become warriors. The whole thing on, meticulation on war and making soldiers out of children and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, at one point, Harry Dean Stanton, who's the father of one of the kids, maybe Emilio Estevez, I can't remember, is in a prison camp. And they go up to the fence and like talk to him, and then this guards might get a sniff that they're there, so the guards come and they have to run away. And Harry Dean Stanton has like his hands, and I love Harry Dean Stanton. He has his hands on the fence, and he's like, "Avenge me, avenge me!" through the fence, which is one of my favorite scenes. He's just yelling "avenge me" as his kid, like "avenge me, avenge me." Anywho, so their
final request.
I mean, listen, if I was stuck in a prison camp and there's like basically an army that's taking over my town, I'd tell my kids to run far away.
Me too.
Run to safety. Don't come back with more guns and get yourself killed trying to avenge me. Just get away and go live your lives as well as you can, because it's avenge me. Like 16-year-olds with assault rifles.
And then break me out of this prison camp.
Yeah. Please just go find someone that can help, that knows what they're doing.
Don't avenge me, save me. He's skipping that whole part.
Yeah, it's like you could maybe save me first. Don't wait until I get killed. Maybe try to save me, but perhaps they saw this movie, the X-Men, and realized this, because
don't confront my captor to free me. Confront my captor to kill them.
Yes, just get revenge. Revenge is the key motivator. No, they're going to kill me and get revenge. So they find the thing, but then they eventually are met by Omega Red as they're trying to free the Rasputins, because a bunch of soldiers get involved, and then a bunch of soldiers get involved, and then as they're fighting, Omega Red notices what's happening, comes out, snatches Illyana, threatens to kill her if they don't stop. However, Wolverine arrives and gets in a fight with Omega Red, who immediately recognizes him as they have tangled in the past. Wolverine's claws
You cannot stop me. I can, you stinking octopus. Just last time.
That's the line I mentioned earlier that I thought was particularly funny that I'm glad you had. Yes, stinking octopus.
Stinking octopus. That's maybe my favorite Wolverine insult yet, and he's got some good. It's up there with egg sucking gutter trash.
And there's a line earlier. I had a few quotes written down that I forgot to mention. That one is a good one. I can't, you stinking octopus. But when the generals release Omega Red initially, one says, "Where is she? Something has gone wrong. Nothing has gone wrong, General. Darkstar." And she says, "Omega Red has been released from his bondage. The first step of the takeover is complete. The Republic's capital has fallen." General says, "So it begins, comrades. Soon these pathetic sovereign nations will return where they belong, to Mother Russia. We shall restore our beloved Soviet Union." Then Darkstar says,
I like that line a lot too.
Yeah,
I thought I had it, but I guess I didn't.
Sovereign nations. And Darkstar said, "You say this is good for the people. For this, you risk using a living weapon, one you could not control before. For the sake of my countrymen, I hope you're right." So that sort of instills that, she cares more about the people of the country than just restoring the Soviet Union, which goes to show that she is, a generally good person. But Omega Red also says at some point, I believe it's here, "The leaders were weak. They restrained me once and lost the empire. Now they have brought me back, a living weapon they've once grown to fear. The empire shall live. They shall not," which is actually a really nice quote as well. Very good episode. It's a very good written line. I like that line a lot. So let's get back to where we were.
More X-Men show up.
Yeah, well, first off, Wolverine fights him, and then do you remember what Omega Red calls his armor? Is it like
he hits the carbonadium synthesizer?
Carbonadium, that's what it is, which sounds like another ridiculous word that people made up. So adamantium apparently can't pierce carbonate.
No, because carbonadium is made out of adamantium. It's like a more malleable form, so it's not quite as strong. But
so Wolverine tries to claw his way through, but it doesn't. And he mentions that he's made of this, or his armor is made of this. He also zaps Wolverine of some of his strength using his tendrils, which seem to suck the power out of people. Not like to give it to him, but just sort of weaken them. So they mentioned about how the Russian was part of a. We're getting back here. So before, but they get hurt and then they run off, do they not? Because Wolverine gets hurt.
Yeah, there's two fights.
The X-Men show up first, though, or they show up in the second fight?
Second fight.
Right. So first fight, they get hurt. They take off. They rescue Wolverine and some people and get out. Wolverine gets patched up in the woods. And there's an interesting little flaw in the animation where it looks like Wolverine, the coloring of his pants disappear and become flesh color because he's not wearing a shirt.
Oh, weird.
So it just looks like he's wearing like just the midsection part, like the underwear part of his costume, and nothing else. But the mask, which is interesting. Very interesting little look at Wolverine. Little more flesh. We'll be there.
What kept you guys?
We've been here sooner, but someone trashed your note.
Because he just threw it away. He just crumpled it up. Omega Red.
Yeah. But before we got to that, we did get a little insight that Wolverine says back in the day, he in the past, he was sent in to stop Omega Red, which
before they were born. So
which is unclear as to why the government still kept him on ice after this happened. But it shows Wolverine and Maverick working together to fight him, which is pretty cool. You get to see more Maverick in the past, and they say he got lucky. It's the only reason they stopped him, but it doesn't really say what they did or how they did it. Just that they froze him, and or no, not even that they froze him, just that they got lucky. So then Colossus says, "We'll get lucky too, and we'll stop him." When they're preparing to go in, of course, the other X-Men show up to help. We still don't have Jean Grey, Beast, or Cyclops. It's Rogue, Storm, and Gambit, who says nothing in this episode, not a word.
Nope.
Which I thought was interesting. He does do some fun stuff in the fight, but he says
some
nothing.
Cards.
Yeah, that's about it. We don't get any. He must have the voice actor must have been sick that day, or they didn't want to bother paying him, I guess. So yeah, they go back on to do their final attack and rescue Colossus' parents. They rally a small army to fight the Soviet soldiers with the other people that they rescue along the way. The former Soviet army brings tanks for the group in. They start firing at them. Darkstar, who's now defected after seeing all the destruction that Omega Red has caused, save the people from the tanks. help the heroes get the civilians to safety, and then join them in fighting Omega Red. Rogue tries to fight Omega Red, but he easily defeats her. Darkstar suggests that Storm, since she can control the weather, use it to freeze.
Forces of nature's cold, freeze!
Like, are her powers only activated when she says hokey stuff like that, or is it just
Pretty sure?
Is it all is it just for theatrics? Because I mean, if I had like her powers, which are ridiculous, by the way, like why is no fight ever ended by her just flash freezing the opponent? Because she can do this now, and she's never done it before. Like, or flash burning them even. Like, you imagine if you're trying to fight someone, all of a sudden the heat gets cranked up to like 150 degrees. Like, you're gonna get winded and not be able to fight pretty quick. So you think she should use these abilities a lot more often. But anyway, I think I digress should have to be my tagline for the show.
I've had enough of your storm bashing, young man.
I love Storm dearly, but I just find the theatrics of her very funny in this show, because it's always like it's kind of like Doctor Strange, it's like by the hoary hosts of whatever, but with
the hoary hosts of Hogarth.
Yeah, exactly. But now it's with weather. So it's like by the Arctic winds of the ice and snow, I call forth thy power. Like, I like the idea that maybe the weather is like anybody else that has an ego, and it only really helps
just
you
listens.
if you
Buff it up a little bit.
Yeah, try to even make it to the great
amazing wind. Blow.
It's like, I don't know if I really believe that. Can you say that again, but with a little more emphasis? Maybe I'll help.
Storm! Your cold hurt him! Take us both!
You know what? If I had written this episode, I would have ended it with her freezing both of them in a block ice, because that would be very poetic to me. But then later on, you can defrost them and bring back Colossus. But anyway, so she brings all this ice on him, and Darkstar helps to get his feet planted so he can't get out, and he freezes to another solid block of ice. Well, Colossus holds him so he can't get away. But then I think Darkstar used her powers to take Colossus away at the last minute.
Kind of barrier powers.
Yeah, and she used it to take him back away at the
telekinesis.
last minute. And save him from getting frozen with Omega Red. So he gets frozen. Once again, we've stopped Omega Red, although I'm assuming he shows up later, so I'm not sure what they do with him. They just put him in a freezer somewhere and hope nobody opens it. He's quite an imposing figure in this show. I like the way he looks.
He is.
Yeah, he's very large, and the design is quite cool. So he's defeated, and afterwards they help Colossus' family repairing their farm. He's reunited with his parents. We do mention earlier on, and I think I forgot to say this, part of the reason why he left America in this episode, or left for America in this episode, was that when the government, this is right out of the comics, if I recall correctly, is it not? His origin? When the tractor got out of control, they were farming on the farm. Mm-hmm. And he ironed up and saved his sister by smashing the tractor. But the tractor, of course, being given to the farm, or rather let to be used by the farm by the Soviets, because they're all communists. They were upset that he smashed the machinery, and they didn't trust mutants. So in order to save his family, he left. He put himself in exile, which is why he walked away. So we did cover that earlier, which I forgot to mention. So now it seems as though, now that they're safe, I'm guessing those Parliament guys got back into their closet and restarted the government. But he's staying with his family. The X-Men offer him to come join them. He says he has much to do to help his family repair their farm. But Jubilee says, well, you can at least come visit. I'll come get you. And he says, oh, maybe, implying jokes there about her flying abilities from earlier. And then he has a lovely line at the end as the X-Men fly away.
Piotr, is terror really over?
Yes, thanks to such friends as the X-Men.
That one?
Yes, that is a nice line to end the episode. There's a good line earlier too. So when Wolverine gets hurt, and then they escape to help him heal up before they go back in for round 2. I believe they drop a tank thing on Omega Red, which is funny because when they do, it looks like a bunch of black stuff comes underneath, like it's this blood, like they just crush him like an ant. But I think it's just shadowing. But there's a line where Colossus goes to help Wolverine up, and he says, I don't need your help. And he's like face down in the ground, all messed up. And Colossus like, of course not, but you are a guest in my country. It is good manners, and like throws him over his shoulder. So that is
good line, yeah. All right. Well, that
We're
was
back.
a lovely summary there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Your input was deeply appreciated and required.
Each of us will have to look into his own heart and decide.
Who's up? You or me?
Oh, let's go with me. The music. My first point is the music. Oh, it's the rating. Sorry. Whoops.
Yeah.
Forget that. Don't
How
steal
about
my
I
point
go first then?
Don't steal my point later. Give me a rate. Yeah.
I love this episode. Actually, I give it a 9.
I too give it a 9. We are in sync today, my friend. It is a great episode.
It was
lots
a
of
great
fun.
episode.
X-Men chicanery. Going to other countries. Colossus back. Omega Red's a great villain. We got all that, that
political stuff
that's sort of relevant to today, which is interesting. Yeah, really, really enjoyed it. That was really good. 9.
Well.
How's our board looking? We must be getting closer, are we?
There's
one. I think the Storm episode we were pretty far off.
As soon as I'm confident it won't make my computer crash or like make my audio skip, I'll start bringing
that Excel spreadsheet's gonna make your computer crash.
Oh man, who knows? How am I sounding, people? Is it good?
Can we start a GoFundMe to get Devin a better computer so that we can whatever sound issues have been bedeviling you since the start of the show we can get fixed?
Be nice. Uncanny X points. All right, get in there, Andre. You were raring to go.
The music in this episode is fantastic. They have a really, I don't know if you have any clips of it, but when they show some of the stuff going on in Russia, they have a great little like Russian bend to the music, which is fun. I mean, that whole thing with Wolverine and like the kick-ass Wolverine music is great. I mean, I know they used that bite before, but that's a great little, like the music in the show, something that we've talked about too much before. I mean, we did make some jokes.
I've brought it up a few times.
Well, the Future Past episode Bishop with the harmonica and the Texas twanged everything was like nice too. So I kind of really enjoy how they use the music.
In the reggae in the Slave Island episode. I really enjoyed and stuff.
Yeah, I enjoy how they use the music to sort of set the tone. They do a really good job with it. And the Russian one is fun because it's got this really like operatic Russian feel to it with the way they kind of shift it when they're showing that country what's going on there, especially when Omega Red's getting thought out the first time. So yeah, very good. The music's very good.
All right. Well, my X point. Okay, here's mine. Where is it?
No one's home.
Where is Xavier?
We don't know.
Okay, the mansion is always empty. It's like in the Deadpool movie where they show up and he's just like, how comes nobody's ever here except you guys? Like, it's always just like Negasonic Teenage Warhead and Colossus.
Yeah, the rest of them are like hiding behind a door because they don't want to talk to him.
Yeah, like the mansion's always empty. They just leave Jubilee, this teenager, there in this mansion alone all the time with no food. Down the fort,
especially the place that like the enemy of the X-Men would go to fight the X-Men. Like, it's their home base, and they're like, we'll just leave her here. We'll throw some quinoa in the slow cooker for her and get on her way. Because they never leave her food she likes. Hello?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I thought you were frozen for a minute. Yeah, I agree. That's really funny.
All right. Your point, isn't it?
My point? Okay, Omega Red said he was in prison for 25 years. At one point in the episode.
25 years.
He was frozen after the Russian government saw he was out of control. With the show broadcasting in 93, this particular show, that would put his imprisonment right around 1968, which would be around the same time the Warsaw Pact invasion of Czechoslovakia. So that could have been part of his insanity. That was interesting. Okay. Interesting placement and rather smart on the side of the writers of the show to include that in there and put it right around that time period. It makes sense with Wolverine and I guess Maverick would be an old man, wouldn't he, if he was around 25 years?
I think he has anti-aging and stuff as well.
Oh, does he? Okay, good. It's good for Weapon X to keep everybody above board. All right, you're up.
All right. Well, mine are all pretty quick. Jubilee and Colossus is a cool buddy team. I liked it. They played off each other well.
Yes, they were a lot of fun. My point: we got to see Captain America for the first time in this series in a very brief little moment in which when they show the Omega Red program creating him on a screen, you see Captain America, Steve Rogers, kind of off to the side on a screen, showing that he was perhaps the impetus for them creating their own super soldier because of the Captain America program, which I believe in X-Men comics was part of the Weapon Plus program. Like Steve Rogers himself is a weapon, not Weapon X, because that was Wolverine, but was like a Weapon 0 or Weapon 2 or something, like in the line of Weapon Pluses. Yes. So yeah, we got to see a little bit of Captain America, which is fun.
Okay, that is a good one. Next one, Magic. I mean, we only get to see her as a little girl, but I like the character a lot. I mean, and seeing her as this young kind of rules out seeing her as, a New Mutants kind of aged Magic.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, we couldn't remember if she was in the series at all after Talk's first appearance.
So now we got it.
Yeah, and I think she must come back later too, does she?
I don't know. I think that might be it. Might be it for Colossus too, actually.
And interesting. Is there something about the names in because when I look at the cast listing for this episode, this is my next point, by the way. We have Pietro Rasputin and Ileana Rasputina. Is her last name different because she's a female?
Oh, I don't know. That is interesting.
Yeah, or maybe it was different in the series, and that's her alias in the comics. I don't know, but just that's what it's listed in the cast. So I was curious as to what the differences were.
Is it me?
Yes.
Oh. Storm's powers. A lot of episodes are just ended with Storm being awesome, like in using her powers in a different way. A lot of the villains get defeated with Storm using wind or cold or water or whatever.
Yeah, especially like if she's learning how to use them. I feel like this would make more sense if they were like the early version of the X-Men that are just learning their powers as they go along. Because it's like, I mean, if you could flash freeze a guy that quickly, that's pretty useful power.
That is pretty. But they made it sound like he was especially vulnerable to cold, which is weird because he's like a Russian supervillain. But
yeah, I know. Well, I guess they froze him before, which was Darkstar's reasoning. But it's like, yeah, they are in Russia, which is pretty far north, Anyway, so I get one final point. Omega Red. Just Omega Red as a character is great. The accent, like Colossus accent is cartoony, like very cartoony, like Moose and Squirrel on Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoony. But Omega Red's is actually pretty sinister, and it doesn't have too deep of a cadence. It has enough to show that he's Russian. Or wherever he's from originally. I mean, whether he's a mutant or not, it doesn't seem as though he is because he's created to be what he is. But with the powers, the tentacles, the design, the size, the coloring, he looks very cool. Much better than he did in that Deadpool movie where they threw him in. But he's a cool character. I think the design in this is really neat, and he definitely strikes me. I mean, I always say that religious zealots and like people that are zealots in a way where they believe that they are entitled to do the evil things they do are more terrifying to me than for the motivations of a villain. And a guy that's like this deep. I mean, it seems you learn quickly his real motivations are simply to be, to make Russia great again under his rule, not just Russia. It's more about him. So. All that stuff's very interesting. I think he's a cool character, and I hope to see him again in the series. I think we probably will. Oh, actually, I know we will because some other stuff coming up.
Right.
But anyway, I think your last.
My last one is just the Xavier and Magneto storyline that shows up every episode this season. I really like them. I look forward to them because it's either some catastrophe or some banter or fighting a dinosaur. I've been looking. I really like that thread through this season.
It's a weird little like side rails what's going on. It's always like, oh, here's what zany adventure. What zany adventures are Xavier and Magneto going to get up to in the Savage Land this time?
The Xzany adventures.
Ooh, very nice.
All right. Well, I guess that's all of those. So
hey, check this out.
Those are our comic book recommendations and reminiscences. I'm going to be obvious as I always am. First appearance of Omega Red. Jim Lee art. A lot of the same characters, the Jubilees, the Gambits, Wolverine versus Omega Red as the show. Good follow-up. Good companion to this episode. Do it up. X-Men 4 and 5 from the 90s.
I love the giant ponytail and the way his hair is drawn by Jim Lee. So it's like McFarlane's webs and Spider-Man. It's just all over the place.
Oh yeah.
All right, I got a few. I don't know.
Oh,
did I
wow.
bring this? Did I bring this one up when I got it? I think I did.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I did. Good. So I did finally get this. I thought I had ordered it, but I didn't, and then I realized I didn't. So it has come in.
You got yours. Good.
Yes, I got my copy in, and I did go through it a bit today. It's amazing.
Good,
I know, Davin has talked about it a lot, but all these character designs, they're just like these sheets of all these characters that, like, you know, appear in the show. Do they all appear in the show? Because there's like some surprising ones in here.
The characters that show up in the later seasons would blow your mind. Like,
so like, is Punisher in the show? Because he's one of these character draws. He's on like Mojo World or something. Like, I know we're gonna
maybe.
Like in the background, I don't know.
Oh, who knows who's going to show up in the Mojo episode? That could be.
I know Dazzler does, which is interesting. That's a bit of a spoiler, but so you know, there's some cool stuff here. The art's beautiful. It's gorgeous. I mean, it's a lot of art from Rick Hoberg in here. It's super cool.
Former guest of the show.
Yes, last week. And if you're a fan of the series, I know we've touted this enough, and they did as well when they were on the show too. But it's totally worth it. It's an amazing book, and if you love the series, you have to have this. Like, you have no excuse. I mean, assuming you can afford it. I don't want you to not be able to pay your rent, but definitely it's fantastic. But my actual suggestion for this week, because I just grab random X-Men comics off my shelf.
Also, check out our interview with Rick Hoberg if you haven't yet.
Yes, it's
He's an interesting guy. He's fun to talk to.
Yeah, we had a really good conversation with him. But in keeping in theme with me just grabbing random comics that have X-Men characters in them off my very extensively filled library, I'm going to bring up this one, which is fun. It is if you liked Batman, The Long Halloween, or Dark Victory, or any of the Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale DC books of the past. Also, they did them in Marvel too with Spider-Man Blue, Captain America White, Hulk Gray, Daredevil Yellow. You get this lovely little Wolverine and Gambit miniseries by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale from the, I believe, 90s. It's called Victims, was the original name of the series, which delves into someone getting murdered, them thinking it's Wolverine doing the murdering. I believe they even think that he may have been Jack the Ripper at one point, which is fun. But Gambit, of course, thinks that Wolverine may be murdering people and goes in to brain him in, and we find out who the true culprits are and go on from there. But you get that lovely Tim Sale art from like the Batman Long Halloween drawing Wolverine and Gambit, which is pretty cool. It's something you don't see. Like, you don't see his style in the X-Men world very often, and I like his art a lot. And it's fun. It's pretty cool.
Sale did those Jeff Loeb color volumes of
those ones I mentioned earlier. Hulk Gray, Daredevil Yellow, Spider-Man Blue, Captain America White, I believe, is all the Marvel ones. But yeah, very, very good. It's a fun little story, so check that out.
All right. Oh, now the moment you've all been waiting for, if you've seen our social media posts. Thanks to former guest of the show, Eric Lewald, we have an exclusive for you all. We have what was going to be the sequel to this episode, Red Dawn. The original return of Omega Red was going to be Sam Peckinpah and Heart of Darkness, Apocalypse Now inspired. Bring Me Charles Xavier. Short for, of course, Bring Me the Head of.
Man, I wish this episode existed. It sounds so cool.
I know. So I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it out for you all, the summary that Eric so graciously sent us. And André, just pipe in whenever you want, because I know there's going to be a lot of things here that probably tickle your interest in this episode here.
Yeah,
in this summary. All right. So, Bring Me Charles Xavier. Okay, so if you remember, Omega Red was unleashed earlier in this episode that we have here in a failed attempt by powerful Russians to resurrect the shattered Soviet Empire. The X-Men defeated him and froze him. We just went over all of that. So in this story, he is stumbled across unfrozen, and he goes directly for Colossus and his family. Parents, Aliana, everyone.
He wants revenge.
He kidnaps them and takes them to a new jungle island stronghold, straight out of the heart of darkness and Apocalypse Now kind of thing.
Yeah, he's Colonel Kurtz basically is what he's making.
Yeah, he's making him Colonel Kurtz. That he somehow has thrown together overnight.
I like that that they include Eric includes the like little notes about like some of the holes in the plot because like this I don't know if he made a full script of this or not, but you know just that stuff's really funny. So
yeah,
some little notes.
There he enslaves Colossus, threatening to kill his parents if Ileana doesn't go bring him the man he blames for his previous defeat, Charles Xavier.
So now, that's where I have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Too, because Xavier had nothing to do with this. Like the X-Men are there, but Xavier was not. He was off in the Savage Land with Magneto, so he really had nothing to do with this whatsoever. And the fact, I don't even think Omega Red would know who he is.
No.
It was Bring Me the Head of Peter Rasputin.
Wolverine?
Or Wolverine, actually, or Logan, yeah. Actually, Logan would
probably should have been Colossus since he was going after his family, Logan, but it sounds better when it's Charles Xavier.
Logan would make more sense because the character in the movie, Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, does seem Wolverine-ish a little bit in that he has sort of a dark worldview. He's a bit shorter and stockier. He's not like jacked, he's skinny, but you know, and he's got like a real rough edge to him. In fact, I want to do this. You keep talking, I'm going to grab the movie. It's right here.
Oh, he's grabbing the movie. All right, well, let's keep summarizing. So, he has them kidnapped. He wants Charles Xavier. She goes. Xavier and the X-Men follow her back upriver, where Omega Red, like a crazed Colonel Kurtz, attacks them. Huge fight, which would be slick, this huge fight in the jungle against Omega Red. All, you know, decked out. Seems
like weird to go from like the Siberia, Russia environment to them fighting in a jungle.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if Omega Red's the best person to do the storyline with, but it is interesting for sure.
Finally, as he's losing, Omega Red blows up the island. The X-Men save Colossus, who has a final one-on-one with Omega Red and his family. Omega Red is left in the darkness of the burning jungle. Very intense imagery there.
Yeah, but how do you get him
frozen? That we don't
never
know.
answered.
We don't know. When the X-Men and Colossus's family all travel back to Colossus's village, the X-Men look on wistfully at the family and that none of them really ever had. At the family that none of them really ever had. A little Seven Samurai or The Searchers feel.
Yeah. Which is another The Searchers, famous Western movie, I believe by Peckinpah as well, unless I'm wrong.
Yeah, which is interesting. Like they're all loners that are trying to come together as a family by the end of this series, perhaps. But
yeah, he makes a good note.
Don't actually have one. Yeah. Anyhow, it didn't really. Oh yeah, then he just. That's
sort of.
Says it didn't really hang together all that well, so they didn't really go with it. He says he was just enjoying the dark, sweaty Conrad-like mood.
It is very interesting. I was wrong earlier.
He does say it's too much spectacle, not enough believable motivation, other than crazy vengeance.
Yeah, I agree with him on that. Like I said, crazy vengeance would work if Colossus was the motivator, and you know, but it would seem too much like the previous episode if he wanted Colossus took his family to get him back, and then you know Colossus has to go to the X-Men for help again. So it does seem like this episode over again a little bit. I was wrong earlier. The Searchers is by John Ford, who's a very famous American director who did a lot of Westerns. But yeah, it's so this is the movie Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia. This is the Kino Lorber Blu-ray release of it. Warren Oates is the main character in it. It's a very good movie. This is the box art, and this is the original art, I think, for the original release. But it is a great story about you know, wanting to do anything to get ahead and get out of the life you have and do it. But, you know, like all of his movies, most famously, if you're not familiar with the work of Sam Peckinpah, The Wild Bunch would probably be the one most people know, or Straw Dogs, which was a very brutal, bloody, and all of his movies generally have to deal with how, you know, we're all just sort of animals on the inside, and you know, society teaches us to be better, but when a push comes to shove, we just turn back into them, and they're always blood soaked and dark, and really get to the heart of this sort of animalness of humans. which I mean, the Heart of Darkness did as well, which is the book that the movie Apocalypse Now was based on by Joseph Conrad. So yeah, very similar in theme to what they were doing with that episode. I do really like it. I like the crazed in the jungle, the burning, the darkness, all that stuff is very on point.
I like the themes he was trying to bring in, like the
yeah. I feel like it could have been with a little more thought. It could have been not thought.
They could have fleshed it out. They decided to go a different way for Omega Red's return, but
I mean, I don't know if Omega Red would have been the. You know what would have been a good through line, and maybe not one that's probably too well thought out to be part of this show. Not to dismiss this show, but just if they did it in Cuba. Maybe like at where Russia had the silos set up back in the day during the Cuban Missile Crisis, that could have made some sense.
Maybe it was. Maybe they would have got situation.
There. Yeah. But maybe making Omega Red the crazed revenge obsessed person may not have been the best. Actually, Morph would have been a better choice for that character as far as the crazed guy in the jungle.
Yeah.
With an axe
not cool for a big fight. Well, he can morph into different things. Who knows?
Yeah, he can turn into a Tyrannosaurus and fight them.
He can turn
into Omega Red, and that's what he did.
Which I think he did already.
Yes, he did actually when he fought Wolverine in the tunnels. Why Morph knows about Omega Red if he was not around 25 years ago would be interesting as well. So anyway, he must have read Wolverine's file. But it's super cool. We're very thankful for Eric for sending that along and giving us some insight into that. Because it was a fun point for our discussion when we spoke with Lewald. So
it's cool to see the ones that, a very cool idea like that even got tossed aside.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think they could
wonder what else.
Super cool.
Yeah,
but because we did this, we eventually get a story later with Omega Red and Wolverine in a sunken Soviet nuclear sub, which is I'm not sure what season that comes later. But that's good. Yeah, it seems like a fun and more prudent to what the series is set up before. This one seems, as you mentioned, like a lot of spectacle and not a lot of substance as far as trying to connect it to what they did before. So, but I do think they could have done it with a little more smoothing out of the story. But I do love his references to Seven Samurai and the Searchers. That's great.
Yeah, that was fun.
Life was hard.
Life was hard, but we were together, or something like that. Like, you just
everyone's favorite segment. What's wrong with André?
I love how they can't they can't show anything positive from the communist country. Like, even his family being in the woods, like working together on the farm, they still have to say how hard it was working under the communist government.
Family.
Exactly. So they just can't do anything to show anything positive about this world, even if it's unrelated to communism. It's just like under communist rule, it's hard. What's wrong? Put on the other one. Andre's doing all right. Give André a good. Yeah, it's working with André. André is enjoying life. André watch.
Well, that's more like it.
Well, that's
Andre's got some wrestling dates coming up. That's just fun. André watched The Bubble last night on Netflix, which is Judd Apatow's new comedy movie about a group of actors stuck in a bubble trying to film a movie during the pandemic, which was actually pretty fun. If you like Judd Apatow
was going to do that for sure.
Yeah, it's a hoot. It's got a great cast. I mean, I like Peter Serafinowicz.
Peter Serafinowicz,
who played the Tick on the Amazon series. He's also in the Guardians movies as a Nova Corps member. He's also one of my favorite movies.
A prominent Nova Corps member. He was
sacrificed himself in the big battle at the end.
Get his name now, but he's big in the comics too. He's a big character.
Yeah, and then of course he was in one of my all-time favorite movies, Shaun of the Dead. They got him. They got Karen Gillan from plays Nebula in the Marvel movies. David Duchovny, Michael Key, Pedro Pascal. There's a lot of great actors in it. It's a lot of fun.
Wow.
So Fred Armisen. So yeah, good movie. I saw a doctor yesterday about my heart thing from before, which we discussed, I believe, in the show. And I'm all back to normal. 100%. My heart is fine. Like nothing ever happened. So myocarditis, speed.
A leaving weapon.
A leaving weapon. That's right.
A living weapon.
A living
and the
weapon.
most important thing. Have I ever put Lebowski on the air? Has Lebowski ever made a cameo on the show?
Hey, yeah, he's always run around and back, isn't he? Hey, buddy.
Yes. He came by to hang out at my feet when I'm on.
Doodling cats. Oh, he's over there now. Hey,
But
buddy.
he's not sleeping at my feet. He sleeps on the floor somewhere behind my chair. Just like he never is too far away from me.
That's a good boy.
Hey,
That's a
found him as a kitten, and I think he imprinted on me like a baby duck does. So,
very
he's
good.
Definitely my boy.
That's a good boy.
Let's work with Davin. What's going on? What's digging at
working
Davin?
with Davin? What's working with Davin? No, it's what's working with Davin. It's, my pond is done. My fish are in it.
Your new pond's already done, man. You're working. You're prolific. You're working fast.
Oh yeah. Looks good too.
Yeah, all the fish
better than the last one. No, that's what's sticking with Davin actually.
Oh no, what happened?
We weren't there at the old place. There was a bit of a gas buildup, and the koi did not make it.
All the koi died.
Situation. Oh. Yeah. I mean, they're not tanks like goldfish. So that was sad. Another reason that getting kind of moving without planning to move was kind of problematic. But,
yeah, you're kind of forced to. I'm sorry that the koi didn't make it, but
yeah, that sucked.
You know, they say fish don't feel pain.
But I tell myself as a fisherman. No, and I got my first garden in the ground. I got the early crops in the ground. I got the lettuce and the kales and the spinach and the peas are all planted.
Nice. Yeah, my wife
will be eating fresh veggies in a couple weeks, and that makes me happy.
Awesome. Yeah, my wife is
eating good in wintertime in Canada sucks.
Yeah, it's a bit tough. Groceries are expensive.
And it's not fresh. Like getting the fresh veggies again out of your own garden, there's nothing like it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
You're really leaning hard into this naturalist hippie lifestyle, aren't you?
Well, I don't know about the hippie part, but
oh come on, you have a koi pond.
I like to grow. I like to enjoy
you make
my
koi ponds.
my
you like fresh vegetables from your own garden. You're drinking craft beers. Come on, you're a hippie.
Well, man, I grew up in the country. That's what we do.
Hipster. Let's go with hipster. I mean, hey, look, I'm a hipster too. We recognize our own. Your bandana says otherwise. Say whatever you want, but I'm the different kind of hipster.
I told you, wear the bandana so you don't feel bad.
Listen, I've been bald for a while now. I don't feel bad. I've come to terms with it. I don't grow hair, so I shave my head so I don't look like I'm losing my hair.
You know what, everybody? You can contact us at the X-Men Review Show at gmail.com.
That's right.
You can follow us on
will
Facebook.
Personally reply to every message you send.
I will actually. I reply to pretty much every message we get on Facebook too.
That's true. I do sometimes as well.
Or comment. And you can Facebook's, Twitch, YouTube, find the audio only version. Which sometimes gets a bit of fixing. If there's any audio issues, I try to fix them up a bit for that.
Well, don't forget
we do have more audio only listeners than we do video listeners. So it shows you that you and I have the perfect faces for radio.
Well, it's tough because I listen to a lot of podcasts while doing stuff like mowing the lawn or driving, and it's not like what we do here requires you to see us really. So well, as long as you enjoy the show and you want to listen, man, tune in any way you want. Just make sure you subscribe, rate, all that good stuff, and keep being you.
You two are all right.
We're all right, Colossus. Don't worry.
And don't forget. Your homework for next week is to watch the episode of the 6th episode of season 2 of the X-Men.
I am excited.
Known as Externally Yours. Externally Yours.
No, that's not. Externally Yours isn't next.
Yeah, it is.
No.
Oh, did I miss one? Oh, Repo Man. Repo Man.
Yeah, man. Repo Man. And I'm very excited
Man,
about Repo Man.
Oh, my God. I didn't even realize what the episode this was. I'm very excited as well because in Repo Man, we get to learn about Alpha Flight and Wolverine's experience in Canada, which is super fun. I'm very excited. Vindicator. We get Heather Hudson. We get North Star. We get Vindicator. We get Aurora. We get Sasquatch. We get Shaman, Puck. And Snowbird. We get them all in one wonderful episode. Deep. And as two Canadians who are doing the show, which is an American show that takes place in America. This is the one moment we get to super shine and bring our Canadianness to it. So we got to get super Canadian, you hoser. Get on your tools.
André said,
get your 2 4s.
Take off, or take off.
Take off.
Or Storm would say,
Be gone!
Well, we'll see. The show's been a bit heavy-handed with stereotypes of the countries they take place in. So let's see what they do with Canada. I'll be interested to see if like someone's eating Timbits and drinking like the Labatt's.
Oh, you know what?
Wilson Canadian.
Listen to Andre's podcast. Forgot about that.
Please do. The show is an interview show in which I speak with people related to comics, nerddom, sci-fi, geekdom in general. This week is a new episode on Saturday, and it will feature our Brad Seymour, who is the artist and writer of an independent comic through Sandstone Comics, which is Sandy Carruthers' sort of indie label, in which it's about wrestling. It's a comic book about wrestling, which is super fun. The art's beautiful. It's a great little story, and I'm excited to talk to Brad about it. Obviously, wrestling and comics are two different parts of my life that intersect sometimes, and this will be one of them. So talking to Brad about it's going to be a blast. Tune in.
Also, check out my podcast, So Cuters of Trek. We just interviewed Discovery's own Michael Chan, a buddy of mine. It was good. Awesome. He's a fun guy to talk to. He's an eloquent fella. Speaks his mind well and expresses himself well. It was a good interview. Everyone should check that out. We also have an interview, an episode on space. I just got to finish editing it. Also, check out my cousin's podcast over at Live Long Podcast, Super Mater Brothers, and Trivial Debates, and appreciate the glory of Storm.
She is lovely.
Yeah, exactly.
By the icy winds of the north, must we appreciate Storm? Something like that.
Be gone! I must go now.
Catch you next time, everybody.
See you next time.
This is where the banner comes up. There it is.
There it is. Professionalism.
1, 2, 3.